The fat guy stood on the cable car and started to pee. Suddenly, the cable car started moving, and he almost got thrown off the cliff. Luckily, his friend managed to grab him just in time and saved him from disaster. Meanwhile, the operator in the control room was adding oil to the gears. Unexpectedly, the keys hanging around his neck got caught in the gears, strangling him and lifting his whole body up. He struggled and managed to grab a steel pipe and threw it into the equipment, jamming the gears and causing the electrical box to explode. The cable car instantly came to a halt. The operator was hanging on the gears, no longer breathing. Several people were trapped in the middle of the cable line on the cable car. They thought it was just a minor issue and didn't take it seriously. They celebrated New Year's in advance with fireworks and alcohol, unaware that danger was slowly approaching them. The next day, when they woke up, they found the cable car still hanging in midair. They waited for hours, but no rescue came. They climbed to the top of the car to assess the situation and realized that the distance between the cable car and the ground was not too far. They could use a rope to descend. So they went back inside the car to search for a rope, and luckily, they found one. They tied the rope to the handle and the other end to themselves. The three of them slowly started lowering the man down. At first, everything went smoothly. When the man saw that the ground was not far away, he threw the snowboard down first. They realized that what lay below was not the ground, but a bottomless abyss. This terrified the man, and he shouted loudly to his companions, urging them to quickly pull the rope back up. However, they couldn't hear his cries from inside the cable car and continued lowering the rope. The man had no choice but to desperately climb back up on his own. Unexpectedly, another accident occurred. Two of them were instantly suspended on a single rope. Fortunately, the female protagonist held onto the rope tightly from above, struggling to support the weight. However, the strength of a single woman was simply insufficient to bear the weight of two men. The rope slowly slipped downward. Realizing the dire situation, the overweight man quickly took out a small knife without hesitation and cut the rope below. He sacrificed his teammate and climbed back up on his own. Witnessing her boyfriend's sacrifice, the girl instantly broke down. Holding the small knife, she forced the overweight man to go down and rescue him. However, the next moment, she collapsed to the ground. It turned out that her thigh had been injured by the broken handle moments ago. Blood was flowing uncontrollably. The female protagonist hastily took off her jacket and covered him, then used a belt to apply simple first aid to his thigh to stop the bleeding. Suddenly, the sound of a helicopter came from outside. The overweight man hurriedly ran to the top of the cable car and shouted loudly. He asked the female protagonist to bring up the fireworks to signal for help. However, by the time the female protagonist reached the top, it was already too late. The plane had disappeared. In despair, the overweight man vented his frustration onto the female protagonist, pushing her forcefully. Unexpectedly, as she fell to the ground, she happened to sit on top of the roof cover, accidentally locking it. Now both of them were trapped on top and unable to descend. Inside the car, the other girl had already fainted and had no strength to open the door for them. The overweight man became frantic. He started behaving in a despicable manner towards the female protagonist. A man and a woman were trapped on the top of the cable car. The temperature had dropped to minus 30 degrees Celsius, and they shivered from the cold. Beneath them was the bottomless abyss. The only solution now was for one person to climb down from the cable car through the main entrance and open the skylight for the other person to enter. However, the man himself was too afraid to go down, and he even coerced the female protagonist to go down and open the door for him. Seeing the overweight man approaching step by step, the female protagonist quickly picked up the fireworks stick from the ground. However, the fireworks burned out quickly. The overweight man took out the small knife and approached the female protagonist. Unexpectedly, she knocked him down with a punch. At the same time, her clothes caught fire from the fireworks. In a panic, the overweight man took off his jacket and threw it away. Frustrated and angry, he broke off an iron rod from the cable car. Seeing this, the female protagonist hurriedly climbed down from the cable car. The protagonist also fell heavily to the ground as a result, unconscious near the escape hatch. From that perspective, she was just one step away from falling off the cliff. After an unknown period of time, when the protagonist regained consciousness, she suddenly noticed the chubby guy crawling in through the escape hatch. Fortunately, it was just a dream. However, due to the extremely cold weather and prolonged inactivity, the protagonist's hand had become stuck to the metal plate. She had no choice but to endure the pain and forcibly tear her hand away. Haha. Seeing her best friend frozen to death, the protagonist crawled over to retrieve her own jacket. After disinfecting her hand, she quickly and simply bandaged it. At this moment, a fierce blizzard was raging outside, and the cold wind kept pouring in through the escape hatch. The protagonist used several pieces of skateboard to seal the opening and gathered some miscellaneous items to start a fire for warmth. However, just as she felt a slight warmth, the glass of the cable car suddenly shattered due to falling debris. The strong wind instantly extinguished the fire and dashed the protagonist's hopes. Nevertheless, she did not give up. She grabbed a kite and colorful lanterns and stuffed them into her backpack. Suddenly, a screw on top of the cable car came loose, flinging the protagonist against the glass. With the glass on the brink of breaking, the protagonist was in imminent danger. Just as it seemed to be the last moment, her friend's body unexpectedly fell down. The protagonist managed to flip over and narrowly escape the impending danger. But it wasn't over yet. The cable car was now trembling and on the verge of collapse, barely holding on. The protagonist wanted to climb to the roof, but the roof cover was stuck. She quickly grabbed a fire extinguisher and forcefully smashed the skylight. Accidentally hitting the jet nozzle, she was knocked down to the ground. Fortunately, the roof cover opened, and the protagonist immediately climbed up. I hope this translation helps. Let me know if you need any further assistance. The alarm at the bottom of the mountain instantly went off, alerting the staff about the accident on the cable car. They immediately called the search and rescue team for assistance. Meanwhile, the protagonist's boyfriend, who had been unable to contact them for the past few days, along with their friends, decided to come up the mountain directly. Fortunately, they managed to intercept a snowplow halfway. They headed straight to the cable car station. At the entrance of the station, the man accidentally noticed a flashing kite in the sky. It turned out that at the moment when the cable car was falling, the protagonist happened to hold onto one of the supports, trembling from the cold. Despite the freezing conditions, she persisted and released the kite. As the kite flew higher and higher, it caught the attention of her boyfriend on the ground. Realizing that his girlfriend was still in the cable car, he immediately rushed into the control room. There, he found a steel pipe stuck in the pulley, and despite his best efforts, he couldn't remove it. He had to seek the assistance of the snowplow to remove the pipe. The staff promptly activated the backup power supply, and the cable car started operating normally again. Finally, the protagonist was rescued. As she was brought to safety, the first person she saw was her boyfriend standing in front of her. I hope this translation is helpful. Let me know if you need any further assistance.